Welcome to the Underbelly Podcast, brought to you by Clarity Financial, as we peek underneath, poke around, and expose the unexposed stories of the week about finance, economics, politics, and life. I'm Brent Clanton, executive producer of The Lance Roberts Show and The Real Investment Hour. We wanted to create a forum for exchanging stories, ideas, and anecdotes that deserve more in-depth, unfiltered conversations, plus allow you a glimpse behind the scenes. As always, we welcome your feedback. Find us on Facebook or online at realinvestmentadvice.com. Now, let's step inside the studio for the Underbelly Podcast, starting now. And good afternoon. We are live in the Clarity Financial Studios. I'm Brent Clanton this weekend, along with Richard Rosso and John Coumarianos. Good to have you guys in here with us this afternoon. I wanted to start off by doing a review of market activity. And
Sure.
What did we have to look at this week, John?
So the Dow's been down before today, almost a record number of days. I was just reading, but it's not gonna break that record because it looks like it's up today. Although the broader market has not been down really because the Nasdaq's been up, I think. So the S&P 500 is still holding at around a 4% gain for the year, including dividends. I think it's probably down off its recent high, but really not that much. So one shouldn't take the Dow, a streak of Dow days that seriously.
Dow down days.
Yeah.
Say
How
that
does
3 times
Walgreens
fast.
fit into the Dow?
I have no idea. But
I guess they should revamp the entire Dow Jones because of what it was in the past, what it is now, what's more representative of businesses today.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's-
that's what they were thinking, but I haven't looked into the research as to how Walgreens
really makes
made
sense.
it into
And why
over
Walgreens
CVS.
instead of, say, Walmart?
Sure.
I mean, if you're going to talk
I
about
would
a
think
retail
Walmart
store,
would probably be more representative
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the current environment.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then if you're going to go there, maybe then Amazon.
What I mean is that entire Dow seems to be needing to
Yeah.
revamp.
So there's a couple.
And redefinition of
Yeah.
the businesses that drive our economy today
Yeah.
versus what drove our economy 100 years ago. So it was sad to see GE leave and Jeff Immelt blow up a company, but and not get really nothing happening to him for it. So I think it's interesting that the CEO of Intel gets fired because he's having a consensual relationship, but a CEO who literally blows up an American institution. And
I'll say
GE
something
is
radical.
Really
Something radical. Did Jeff Immelt blow up GE, or did Jack Welch blow up GE?
Well, let's put it this way.
yeah,
I
it started
understand
years
that,
ago.
but the point was Immelt didn't really seem to. If anything, he
didn't
might have
help.
put the death knell.
Yeah,
into
he didn't
it.
help.
That's what bothers me.
I'll give you that. Sure.
But yeah,
Two things with the Dow. It's an industrial average, and we're not an industrial country
That's what I
anymore.
Well, there's that.
That's the
Dow
first
Jones service
Yeah.
economy
Yeah,
average.
that's the first problem.
Intellectual property average.
Yeah. And then the second problem is is Walgreens representative even of the economy we have now?
Really, I don't know.
So yeah, probably, probably. Pharmacies. They're one of. Is the pharmacy business a duopoly?
But you walk into a Walgreens, it's like walking into a mini Walmart.
It is.
Because
It is.
There's
Yeah, you still don't
almost
understand.
nothing you can't buy in one of
It's
those
true.
stores.
He's collecting
true.
some free aspirin under the table. Free Tylenol here. Sequel.
So, and that raises
don't
an interesting
understand.
question. Has the Dow Jones Industrial Average outlived its specific usefulness, and is it time for a different average of company stocks to represent the American economy?
So I think people in the business use the S&P 500 and have been for a long time.
I'm going
now.
to take
I think
his
that's true.
Controversy and take it to another level.
Okay.
Remove the total. Get rid of the damn thing altogether. We don't need a price weighted index of 30 stocks. We already have more indices than we need.
Right.
Why the hell do we have the Dow except for sentimental reasons?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just don't see the purpose for it anymore. So why don't you just say, see ya, we got the S&P, we got the Wilshire,
Yep.
we've got all of these different indexes, and maybe people would focus more on what they should be as opposed to the the big Dow ticker in the corner that means absolutely zero.
I think it's a habit.
It's a habit. It's
It
hard
is
to
a
break.
habit, but,
yeah.
and
Driven by
in the
the media.
financial industry, we don't like to really change anything. So ever. So, but I just don't see the need for it, especially now at Walgreens. Couldn't.
It doesn't seem to make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I'll admit, on a daily basis, I look at the Dow.
Sure.
It's what catches my eye minute to minute or even day to day. But if I'm coming in here and we're doing the podcast and I want to report on how the markets are doing, I have no idea what the Dow is doing for the year. I know the S&P 500 is up 4% for the year.
Yeah.
And
And that is a broader, more accurate measure
Sure.
of what's going on.
yeah, that's right.
And really, if you're looking for that kind of information, that's what you want.
That's what you want. Yeah. Yep.
So,
So bonds are stable. They're down 2 for the year.
yeah.
10-year Treasury yield still around 3.
Still around 3.
Yeah.
We seem to have hit a calm or plateau
Yeah, I
in the
think so.
bond market.
Oh, it's the summertime.
Yeah.
Is that reason why bonds are
I'm
calm?
pretty sure that
I mean,
has
we
something to do with it.
correlate and connect everything else. Why not? Humidity equal calm bond market.
Yeah.
Bad hair, good bond market. I mean, you could put any. Lance could probably
Humidity.
create a bad hair bond index.
Humidity equal
of
bad
thing.
hair.
Yeah.
For that matter. Hey, I wanted to mention we lost Charles Krauthammer this week.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
Yeah.
Of course, it was not unexpected. But to me, anyway, he was the voice of pragmatism amidst the howling screams of hysteria that have been swirling.
He's a real stoic. He was a real philosopher, real wordsmith, incredible way of putting sentiment together. I rarely see somebody that can do it.
Yeah.
The way he did it.
And appeal to both sides of the argument.
Really? Yeah. Very professional in his approach.
Above the screaming.
Yes. Really. And always with a voice of clarity. And when he wrote the letter, when he knew there was no other hope,
Yeah.
I thought that was incredibly brave.
Yeah.
The letter was incredibly brave. I don't know if I could have done it and been as graceful as he was. He really was.
You know, and that's along the pattern of Farrah Fawcett did the same thing. She
Yeah.
chronicled her passing on video. And that's something that I get more and more people are coming into that. In fact, there was an article, I mentioned this to you before we started, in the New York Times, the positive death movement comes to life. And they're talking about
Well, after this week in the news, I
death
look positively toward it.
cafes and death doulas and death labs. And it's not about assisted suicide. It's about becoming familiar with the fact that we're all mortal.
The greatest philosophers in the world always knew that death was right in front of them, and that made them live more. That actually helped them to clarify, be more humble. I mean, death was always something that they wrote extensively. If you read Marcus Aurelius, I mean, it's just amazing. They understood their own mortality. So maybe it's a good, maybe this is a positive thing, just as part of an acceptance.
That's
and
what it says, positive death movement.
Positive death movement.
Yeah.
That's the positive.
Well, it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, no, I
because
know.
of the way
I
we've
mean,
been raised.
there is a way to actually, if I feel like if I live every day like I'm going to die, I probably will have a better life and focus more on the present, and what's really important. So maybe
Right.
that's how they're positioning this, and that's not a bad thing.
It's a little frightening sometimes to contemplate the time you have left, of course, but maybe it is a good thing if people are
Well, if
more
you
aware
face
of
your
that.
mortality and realize you only have a limited time, again, those are the people to me who live the most.
Sure. Some truth to that, yeah.
They don't fret the small stuff. Anything that comes their way, they sort of deal with it, and they realize that's the way it is, and they actually have better lives.
Yeah.
There's you're making the most of each
Day.
hour,
You
each
could
day
be
that
as
you have
healthy
left.
as heck. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But you just know that there's only so certain number of days, and you want to make the most of them.
Well,
And that means getting rid of assholes out of your life, 1. 2, get rid of assholes. 3, assholes out. 4, making sure you tell the people who you love that you do love them. And, there's so many things that you can do. There's a lot of really actually great books about death and this kind of approach. So I bet they go through this process of living in the now, and unless they're really going into the the actual details of.
No. There's.
I mean, I don't
not
know what this
necessarily.
process is.
Well,
But, it seems positive to me.
It's
but-
equated to the birth process. I mean, you've got midwives to help people in the birthing process, and so this has been turned around so that you have a death doula, a midwife, to help in the dying process, and it can be something as simple as just being there for someone to attend to their non-medical needs, or just as the article says, a silent witness.
I'm hoping I can die in the champagne room with the men's club, but just sit there and have my last drink, and that's how my way out. But, but absolutely. What else is these? Do you understand? What else do these? I got to read this article that you're referencing about the positive death.
So from the S&P 500 to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Wow.
Yeah.
We run the gamut here, don't we?
Well, the market feels like death. So.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, as a financial planner, you're always talking about how to plan ahead for these things.
We do. We also have to help people understand their mortality so they properly deal with life insurance. Yeah. Nobody likes to buy life insurance. It's not. I say you got to look forward to buying life insurance because you don't want to distress the people you leave behind.
Right.
But you do need to think along those lines out of respect. And I start to think more like that now of people that I leave behind. What do I want to make sure happens?
Right.
Because that love that you feel goes on, and you could either cause a lot of distress for the people you leave behind, or you can make it easy for them. My parents created a lot of distress. Yeah. They created more distress to me when they were dead than when they were alive. And I'm not going to do that to my kid.
It often works that way.
Yeah, life insurance is, to your point, we have to talk about long-term care. Mm-hmm. Life is the frailties, or I call the financial vulnerabilities that plans will emerge, and we have to work around them. But as planners, we also have to make sure that we approach it in a very, not a clinical manner, but a very positive manner, help them get into the shoes of the people they're going to leave behind so that they feel the pain, feel the anguish, or feel the peace, and that makes it easier.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
So,
do you remember those machines in airports where you could buy
death machines?
You could buy life insurance.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
Oh yeah.
My father would buy the insurance every single
time.
Remember that? Those were awesome.
Wow.
Tells me something about my father, I guess, but he would love to do that. Yeah.
Well, at least he was thinking of you guys.
Yeah.
No,
that's
kidding.
Very nice. Nobody thinks of each other anymore, so who cares about life insurance? I'll just, my family will just sue the airline for more than life insurance is going to be. I remember those little kiosks or whatever they were. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Where did they go?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, where the hell did the whole airline industry
People found
go?
them too morbid,
where did my extra 12 inches of seat go?
Yeah. The airlines.
My ass is getting bigger and my seat's getting smaller.
There's
a country song in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It is no fun to fly anymore.
Oh, no.
It's a cattle call.
No.
It's a cattle call.
Absolutely no fun to fly.
Remember the pictures, or even I barely remember being on an airplane, but that was a big deal. You got dressed up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the dudes and the women down, just rolling the cart down in that prime rib, and I mean, it was amazing.
It was amazing
experience.
Yeah.
It was a privilege. I guess today it's almost like taking the city bus.
Yeah.
Well, so many people fly because of job obligations.
That's what I mean. It's more like
you got to do it. And I think the airlines have taken advantage of that captive audience.
Yeah.
They know you've got to use them to get to where you want to go.
The profit margin is all you think about.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? You have to go. And I mean, it's not like...
So they deregulated the industry, but now somehow there are 3 or 4 companies that have arranged it seems, so that they're the only ones who have the major routes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what arrangements they've made, why there's no competition. But for a while, there was a lot of competition after deregulation, and flights were incredibly cheap.
Well, look at what happened with Southwest Airlines and the Wright Amendment. For all those years, they couldn't fly out of Dallas Love Field to other places. Mm-hmm. That was totally bogus, totally ridiculous.
Sure.
And the lobbyists and our elected officials were the ones that allowed that to continue.
Yeah. Now the truth is, after deregulation, prices got really cheap, and a lot of airlines went out of business. They just couldn't. They just couldn't compete.
There's that dynamic as well.
Yeah, but so now, and you had Warren Buffett say for years, shoot me if I buy an airline. You know, I'm Warren. I'm an airaholic. I call an 800 number whenever I get the urge to buy an airline, and they talk me off the ledge because he had a bad experience with U.S. Air, I think, in the 80s. But now you look up and down Berkshire Hathaway's list of publicly traded stocks, and at least up until fairly recently, they owned all the major airlines. So it's a real sea change. The industry has changed a lot, and not in a good way for the consumer, I think.
And so what's he going to do? Take a train somewhere?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Did you see that one of Elvis Presley's first jets that's been sitting on a runway in New Mexico in Roswell for 36 years?
Yeah.
It's all rusted on the outside. You see, is up for auction.
Really?
Yeah, for $430,000. The outside is a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's been sitting on this runway for 36 years,
And
and
not
the inside's
maintained.
got all these purple plush seats and all this cool 70s technology, but it's sort of gutted.
Yeah.
You know how hot it's been in that
I
airplane
would
all
really
these years?
like it,
God,
though.
yeah.
I would really want it because the interior is very cool. Like, I would, you can't get this thing to fly anymore. It's an old Lockheed Martin thing.
Yeah.
Or Lockheed Jet. I think it's the second one he ever purchased. Him and his dad owned it. The first one, I think, is over in Graceland now. And then this is the second one. But it just shows you how, it's just the epitome of lavish, or it was at one time. Now it's all falling apart inside. But
You'd probably take 3 times that much to refurbish it. Not to flying condition, because the airframe will never pass airworthiness tests. But just to redo the interior and bring it back up to par would take that much again over.
Probably.
So, just interesting that I saw that yesterday and I was like, dang, I really would like that. Turn it into a cool apartment. I'll have Byron Kidder, the interior designer, just create a cool sunken living room right in the middle there. Put it right in my backyard. Take the wings off. I'd have a coolest bachelor pad ever.
Well, you know what? You could bury it in your backyard, and it would make a great bomb shelter.
I don't know if it'd fit. I have a pretty big backyard, but I could definitely do something with that.
It's
I'd
not
be so
unprecedented.
stupid if I had a lot of money. I'd really be dumb.
It's not unprecedented to have planes as displays. I think at the Reagan Museum in California, they have Air Force One? They have an old, literally a plane that was used as Air Force One on permanent display.
With all
there.
the original, it's. I want to see that. But
Well, down here south of town at Space Center Houston, they've got the 747 that they use to ferry the space shuttles back and forth from the west to the east coast. I know the guy that flew the plane.
Wow.
And that's an amazing aircraft, and they've got a replica shuttle mounted on top of it.
Can you get in it?
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, you can.
Yes.
Oh,
You
cool.
walk
That's
all
cool,
over that thing.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess obviously it had to be especially made for handling the shuttle.
It was the 747. It did have some structural
That's
adjustments.
what I mean. It must have had some structural adjustments to handle the weight,
mating things up on top so you could connect the shuttle to it. Yeah. But he said it was like flying a boxcar. It was just awful. Because you got this big shuttle on top, which is aerodynamic, but still it's a shuttle on top of a 747.
Right.
That's not a smooth ride.
No, it can't be.
Hey, the Supreme Court was in action this week. They made some interesting rulings. One of them was taxation of internet sales.
Yes.
The Supreme Court says if you're selling on the internet, you're going to have to pay sales taxes somewhere.
Just another burden for the consumer to handle with higher borrowing costs. Now go ahead and throw in sales tax on internet sales. I'm sure the brick and mortar companies are very, very happy about that. But I'm still going to sit in my jammies and order over
from
the
Amazon.
internet.
Yeah.
Because of the convenience factor.
Because of the convenience. I always looked at that secondary, but that will be a drag, yet another drag on the household or the consumer who hasn't seen wage growth since maybe 1999.
Right.
Therefore, there's a great article which also references one of our guests, Teresa Gerladucci, professor at New School, but a generation of Americans entering old age the least prepared in decades.
Really?
They are entering in the worst financial shape than the prior generation for the first time since Harry Truman was president.
Is that because we were spending our children's inheritance as we went along?
Well, no. I think it's because, one, you have children living at home.
Mm-hmm.
You're paying for their educations. You've done I don't blame people for this, but they've done a lousy job with 401k retirement funds. And fact is that you can trace this back to when pensions started to be eliminated.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but we see it in financial plans all the time. People who have pensions have the ability to retire in much, much better shape as opposed to depending on the stock market to do it. And Alicia Munnell, who I track very carefully, I sign up for her emails. Her Boston College Center for Retirement Research is one of the best. She says, this generation was left on their own.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
And
pensions
what
got
we
phased out. The 401k was supposed to replace that, but a lot of companies didn't have one. People didn't know how to use it. People didn't understand investing.
Well, just the fact that you placed the burden on them and placed what they should be guaranteed income in the stock market is not a smart idea.
Yeah.
And this article, which is really great, one of my favorite writers in the journal, Ann Turgeson, she always does a great job. She's got two other writers with her, but she really breaks it down as far as how much people have in savings on average. She's got a really cool thing that we do with the life gets in the way stories, the divorces, going back to work but then laid off, my daughter's college costs, all the things that get in the way that would not get in the way of the pension. And also about median personal incomes of Americans 55 through 69 that leveled off after 2000, since the first time since data had become available since 1950. So households with 401k investments with at least one worker age 55 through 64 had a median 135,000 in tax-advantaged retirement accounts as of 2016. So you're looking at about roughly $8,000 a year in income. So when they talk about how Social Security is no good and don't worry about it, don't count it. Let me tell you, and we say this at the workshop, you'd be tripping over a lot of people in the street if it wasn't for Social Security. That is the pension.
That's right.
It'll be really hard for them to eliminate it. I do think at some point we might see means testing for Social Security. But
there's a lot
elimination, I can't.
You can't do it.
I can't envision that.
You cannot do it.
And this generation that's least prepared begs the question about the generation coming behind.
Right.
How prepared are they to be able to take care of the generation that's going out? Because somebody's going to have to take care of them.
Somebody's going to have to take care of them. My guess is not that well prepared.
It's like this positive death movement.
Yeah.
Well, here's another corollary. Yeah. Kids are going to have to take care of their parents at some point.
At some point. I think that's right. Rich was talking about the data goes back to 1950. I mean, we just forget how. I think we're all anchored to that post-war economy, right? From the late 40s to maybe through the 70s or 75 or something like that. It hasn't been that way since, and it's maybe the biggest economic problem we face. Middle class wage stagnation, the movement to a service economy. It's
so many things.
There's no easy solution
I've written
for that.
about this, and also, John. Yeah, people make some dumb moves in their 401ks. They overweight in their company's stock. Or if they try to get too aggressive at the tops of markets. We understand the emotional pitfalls, but let me tell you, the target date funds that are available are criminal, okay? Yes, they allocate among different stocks and bonds, but let me tell you, the years that they put in, as far as the year that they put in there, as far as when you're supposed to retire, I mean, the retirement years, allegedly, I'm going to retire in 2020. My mind tells me that the 2020 fund should be pretty conservative. Yeah. And it's not because of all these different calculations of what they're called glide paths are misleading.
So this is a very related, slightly different problem. This is what happens when you do retire with the money that you do have. If you're in a target date fund, chances are it may well be too aggressively invested. So Rich is referring to an article I wrote that appeared today on the website where I looked at some of the biggest target date funds with the 2020 date. So that's for someone who's going to retire very soon, obviously. And all but two of the biggest ones I looked at were 50% or more allocated to stocks. And that just might be too much.
I mean, think about that. You're going to retire in 2 years. We tell people all the time at valuations at these levels, you should be much more conservative because you don't want anything to derail your retirement. And you have a 2020 fund with 50% in stocks.
Some more.
Yeah.
That's absolutely scary.
Yeah.
It absolutely should be illegal. But the Department of Labor decides that this is the choice.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, 401k plans pretty much stink. You do need to bring back some form of guaranteed income, some form of pension approach, even if the government has to help with that. And again, Teresa Galaducci has one of the best solutions for it. If anybody would listen to her, as far as guaranteed and how little how employees can benefit, how employers benefit, how the government can benefit because of the inefficiencies in the current system. But we don't listen. But we are now in the face of the crisis as more and more baby boomers retire or they can't retire. We also are dealing with incredible long-term care issues. We call it the financial elephant in the room. How are people going to pay for if they couldn't handle activities of daily living? They're priced out of long-term care coverage. They can't afford hybrid policies because it takes a lot of money to come up with a lump sum, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to put into a policy. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. We don't focus or fix any of this stuff. It's incredibly disappointing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the Labor Department kind of is the arbiter of what is and is not.
Because they follow the old financial data of like just allocate the assets and forget. But they got to understand, not even they understand distribution portfolios. Not even they understand the risk that people take as they get closer to retirement. Because if they looked underneath like John did and I did in these target date funds, they would say, no way in heck, I'm better off in a balanced fund.
Yeah, it's a certain mathematical ignorance. I think everybody's focused on compounded average annual return. And if that number is a certain number, then it's great. The problem is that number becomes meaningless when money's moving into or coming out of an account.
Screws up the average.
Screws up the average.
Yeah.
And the average just doesn't mean anything at that point. When you're pulling money out of an account while the account is declining in value because of the investments it holds, that can be catastrophic for a portfolio.
How have we become so... It's so disappointing to help people manage their money and help people build wealth and protect it. Where did it all fall apart? Because let me tell you, my blinders came off when I was at my old firm and saw what was going on. And my blinders came off to the financial crisis. I finally realized what the hell was going on. And this system overall, it is not geared for individual investors. As noble as it says it is the enemy of most investors.
Well,
I think when pensions...
We're doomed because it's going to take legislation to remedy
it. No, but Wall Street's
and
got these people in the pot.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to happen.
No, it's not. And so what do? Do individuals have to take the matters in their hands and say, this is what I want?
It's almost like fighting a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
You have to actually galvanize, downsize. There are all these things that you need to do to try to battle this article, which is so on target and depressing, it makes me a little queasy. Okay? It's one of the best ones I've read in a very long time on the subject. It'll go nowhere. Even though this is a great piece and the problems that we face, advisors are still going to think in accumulation mode and that stocks compound. That's another myth, okay? Because compounding has nothing to do with stocks because stocks fluctuate in value and compounding has to do with safety of principle. The industry promotes lie after lie after lie after lie, and people seem to love the lies.
I think when pensions went away, there was a need to believe that everyone could invest in stocks now, and that would make up for the lack of pension. In fact, people got really optimistic and said it'll more than make up for the lack of pension.
Well, listen, during the greatest bull market in history, that's when a lot of these studies came out.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely true. But markets cycle.
Yeah, that's another problem. We had sheer luck. You could call it good luck or bad luck, but the S&P 500 was up 18% annualized for a 20-year period.
Right,
from
so
1980
you can
through
lull yourself
1999.
into a coma, a financial compounding coma, and that's great. But you have to recognize, one, when cycles change, two, when I'm getting closer to retirement. You could have made a lot of mistakes. You know, we were having people do withdrawal rates.
Yeah.
I was the only jerk at the time when I started in the late 80s, but I was the only one in mid 90s when everybody broker in the office is telling clients you could take 10% withdrawals. I'm saying, no. We're going to take 5 or 6. And they thought I was nuts. And I said, listen, you're going to go through a market cycle that is going to change.
Yeah.
And you're going to be very glad that you didn't take everything out, or you let this continue to grow, because you're going to go through a rough patch in the market. Yeah. And then in 2003, I started to read a lot of Vitaly Katsanelson's work on cycle-based investing, and he talked about flat markets, and it opened my eyes. Yeah. But we have done an injustice to many investors and people who have tried to successfully save for retirement. A lot of what they also, you have to take personal responsibility. They've made some dumb moves themselves. But for the most part, we put people in very precarious situations without really a lot of education, if any.
Well, and what's the long-term effect going to be on a socioeconomic
Well, people are going to work longer. I mean, we're seeing it right now. That cohort, people 70, I go to Target and I call it the sea of Q-tips at the register. I mean, I love Old Door. I mean, I think they're great. I like talking to them and stuff. But for the most part, I ask questions to them. I ask them, are you here because you need to be here? And they go, who are you and why are you getting into my business?
Why are you getting into my business, right?
You know what's another good thing about them? They know how to make change.
Yeah, that's right.
These young kids don't know how to make change.
Just know how to swipe the card.
But, it's just, my retirement, I mean, if I wanted to work at Target because to me, that's like working at hell, okay? But if I wanted to work at Target, wear the crazy red shirt because I loved working for Target and stacking goldfish on the shelves, fine. But a lot of people need the money.
Yeah.
They genuinely need the money.
And the other impact that I predict is as the children are having to take care of the parents,
the parents are taking care of the kids.
That's going to be a drain on their income and their ability to spend.
And Pew Research shows us that is why you're at the level of multi-generational housing is not going to go away. You're going to have more and more people living there.
So.
I think the solution is tiny house communes.
Yeah,
tiny house communes.
For seniors.
I
wrote in my
about
book about trailer parks.
Yeah,
high-end trailer parks where all the seniors sort of work together. No trailer is more than $50,000, $60,000, right?
Yep.
They have community kitchen, and they have created an environment. I wrote about this in my book because I did a lot of homework on this, and I'm saying this is where many people are going to be.
Agree with that. Yeah.
How many of those little tiny houses could you fit into the Astrodome? Now, there's a purpose for that thing that they didn't think of.
So there are actually, Rich, I know you know this, there are REITs, there are real estate investment trusts that own land on which trailers sit. So Equity, Sam Zell has maybe the biggest one.
Call those tornado decoys.
That's right. Equity Lifestyle Properties is the name of the company. But these are very lucrative, very profitable companies that rent space for trailers to sit on. And this is the wave of the future, it looks like.
I'm writing an article right now because there's this piece about millennials who want to retire at 56. And I read an article, won't say from where this week because I really do like the writer and I don't want to bash him at all. And it's not his fault. But the people he asked for advice, the first advice is like invest in stocks. I'm putting an article together for Real Investment Advice about what you really should do as a millennial to retire at 56. Yeah. And it's like almost the total opposite of what was in this article that you went to all the Main Street, Wall Street people for, okay? Invest in stocks, buy a house. No, my list is going to be very, very different.
Is not the primary tenet capital preservation?
We lost that somehow. It should be. You would think it would be.
I mean, come on.
No, but how you preserve capital is through stocks. That's always the answer. How you protect against inflation.
Well, even I know better than that.
Yeah.
Well, many
I'm just
people
a radio guy.
So again, you're going to see more people living together. You're going to see more of these communities.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And I think if a millennial wants to retire at 56, they're going to have to live small. And I've got 10 to 12 tips for millennials who maybe want to do this. And my first tip isn't invest in stocks. Yeah. So,
Rich, what's the book you read on people traveling?
Nomadland.
Nomadland.
We're going to have the author on.
We've got her. It's coming out in paper book this summer, I think in August.
Great.
And I have a tentative date on the calendar
to
have her on the show when the paper book is released.
Cool.
Listen, I very well could see myself in a trailer. I'm fine with that. Okay,
I've always wanted an Airstream. I think those are cool.
Yeah, they're more expensive than hell, though. You can't afford that. So again, there's a dose of reality that unfortunately retirees and pre-retirees and millennials are going to pay for, that because of one mishaps in life gets in the way, loss of pension, a lot of the things we've talked about.
Sure.
So not to depress anyone, but man, you're going to have to learn to live in the present with less stuff.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you very much, Dan.
You're welcome, son.
Buy stock in Winnebago.
Houston and Dallas
Yeah.
are among a list of top 10 cities in the country.
For billboards?
No.
Oh.
Showing spikes in cheating spouses.
Ooh,
Oh.
wow.
And
Dude.
this is according to none other than
Because it's so hot outside.
AshleyMadison.com.
Oh, is that
no.
still around?
It is. Well, apparently. And more than half of new members in that organization are female.
Wow.
You know, we had a sex therapist on.
I must be on the wrong dating
a couple of
site.
weeks ago, and
Yeah, you're not on Ashley Madison, obviously.
but that's kind of chilling, you know. I mean, what?
I don't even want to type in Ashley Madison.
No.
I have a friend whose last name is Madison. I said, and he's having a baby. A girl said, do not.
do not.
Yeah, really.
Because we really like
yeah.
the name Ashley. He said that to me.
He said that.
Because he
Oh.
didn't even know. I'm like, wait a minute. No. And I'm going to tell you why. Don't type it in because your
Yeah.
wife will divorce you.
Yeah.
But let your wife do it with you seeing, and then you'll see what Ashley Madison is, and you're not going to want to
And
name your child Ashley.
The Google algorithms will send stuff to your email.
Oh, you
Oh,
won't.
yeah.
Your
From
wife
now
will. You'll
till
be
kingdom come.
divorced before you know it.
That's right.
So cheating spouses in Houston and Dallas, they're
Yeah,
all at
Houston
Mastros.
was 8th. Dallas was 3rd on the list. Seattle is tops.
Really?
I don't
What?
know why.
See,
Yeah.
Really? You think they'd be more rock climbing? And
Yeah, right.
I think
the weather's so nice there. I don't need a spouse.
they're hooking up at Starbucks.
Yeah. It rains a
No,
lot.
they're not.
in Seattle.
The bathrooms are so dirty.
It's because everybody uses them now.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where they meet them.
That's
Everybody's using the bathroom at the same time.
That's the point, yeah. I don't know. Hey, riddle me this. And this is back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court also this week ruled that you have to have a search warrant to be able to track a phone. You know, so the cops caught this guy who was a cell phone thief by tracking his phone, and they took it to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, well, you need to have a warrant to do that kind of thing. So that begs a question, 2 questions actually. Do I now have to have a warrant to put a tracker on my wife's phone? You know, just saying. And
But
now,
you know where your wife's going.
I do.
She's only going to the Mexican restaurant and back.
but there's several that she likes to circulate through. Love you, babe.
Love you, babe.
So riddle me this.
What?
If Facebook has this facial recognition software now, and they can pick your face out in a crowd of people, why is it when I put $1 in a vending machine with a bent corner on it, it can't tell what it is?
Because the vending machine technology is from 1959. You understand? That's never changed. That's like the old mimeograph machine in there. You ever see when you put the dollar in here? I mean, that's a mimeograph.
Yeah.
We're aging people.
Remember,
Go, what's a
remember
mimeograph?
the purple
The purple
mimeograph?
ink.
And the smell?
The smell was
Yeah.
the best. Matter of fact, why don't they make a mimeograph candle?
That's a great idea.
Scented candle.
Yeah,
A
mimeograph.
mimeograph room freshener.
Yeah, yeah, I'd buy that.
Purple.
Also, white paste.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh, yeah. That was...
I remember how much white paste I used to eat. My mother would go nuts. I didn't crap for like 10 months. She was wondering why. I was like, well, I think it's all the paste.
what was that stuff made out of?
I don't know, horse hooves or
Well, no, that was
old
the glue.
widows and
The-
orphans. Or
The glue in the bottle with the little red tip thing
Yeah.
on top.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that was horse stuff.
I think that's what was the name of it, horse stuff.
Horse stuff. Yeah.
But I don't understand. I want to go back to the Houston-Dallas thing. Did
Yeah.
they give a reason as to why?
No.
And then all of a sudden, Seattle, what's going on?
No, it didn't.
It just says we're a bunch of cheaters and
Apparently, and
Just
this
deal
was,
with it.
This was a survey based on the summer of 2016 to the summer of 2017. So what's going on
Yeah.
in the summertime?
Right.
I don't know.
just people are edgy. They.
You
The last
think-
thing I wanted to see
Too
another
damn hot
sweaty,
here.
I don't want to see another sweaty person naked, especially in Houston and Dallas, where the BMI is like 1,010.
Right.
So keep your clothes on, and then we can have an affair.
I read an article this week about all of the stuff that you have to go through with TSA now
Uh-huh.
to get onto an airplane.
Yeah.
Back to our airplane conversation
Yeah.
earlier. And it is absolutely agonizing to get on an aircraft anymore.
It is.
I think with all that they're requiring, the airline that will succeed will be the one that allows nude flying. So you don't have to bring anything.
Bring anything, right?
You know? So there's nothing there, leaves nothing to the imagination, but you don't have to be scanned, no frisking.
Right.
So just in case anybody wants this information,
yes.
According to Ashley Madison,
you went and looked
Dallas,
it up.
Yeah, Carrollton is the most popular neighborhood for affair seekers. Garland, Bryan Place, Plano, and Addison, top 5. While Grapevine, Pleasant Grove, Irving, Cedar Hill, and Coppell round out the 10-city list. I really like Grapevine. Why are people cheating in my Grapevine?
I don't know.
That's such a great little town.
Well, apparently.
Goodness gracious. I got a joke, but I can't say it.
We're not broadcasting.
Yeah, I still
it's
can't
on the
say
internet.
it. I still can't say it.
This is like the Howard Stern of.
This is becoming a little Howard Sternish, yeah.
But I mean, but Ashley.
Sorry, Howard.
I was surprised just to hear that Ashley Madison. Oh, so here's the top 10 list. Washington D.C. That absolutely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That makes some sense. Yeah.
San Antonio. What are they doing?
Really?
Fondling themselves at the Alamo? I don't like that idea. Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Oklahoma
Salt Lake
City,
City.
Pittsburgh,
Salt Lake
Boston,
City? Well, you can do
Chicago,
it with
Dallas,
multiples.
Orlando.
You get multiples in Salt Lake
There
City.
you go.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
Sad state of affairs.
It is. Stick
Surprised,
together, you live longer.
Houston isn't on there because Byron's not on this list. But sorry, Byron. No. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, and in this article about retirement, one of the most devastating issues, and I wrote about this in my article about the imperfect retirement. Life got in the way.
Yes.
Divorce is incredibly expensive as far as setting you back for retirement goals.
Yeah.
Everything you've built together split.
Yeah.
It's awful.
In this piece I'm writing for millennials, I tell them to get married.
Yeah.
Get married, but don't have kids. That's one of my
Right.
Right. Yeah. But I say, you want to retire at 56? Okay. Kids are expensive. I'm doing this from a very non-romantic. Listen. I'm not a romance guy.
You're not being sentimental about this at all.
No.
Mr. Pragmatism.
Yes, but if you want divorce, people who are married and have a same or a similar money philosophy have exponential gains in their wealth. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I don't need any research to do it. I've got 25 years of meeting with people and see how that works.
Yeah.
And then the divorce though could be one of the worst things.
But if you don't
that
have
ever
these,
happens.
if you don't have these kids having kids, then we're going to wind up in the same boat as Japan.
That's right.
Within a generation or two.
Yeah. Well,
I think the answer should be everybody get married and have 4 kids.
And have 4 kids, yeah.
And multiply the base.
I say that too. But they'll let the government give us $25,000 for each child. If demographics is so important to you, and you're going to spend $300,000 per kid, give me my money. Give me my money to have a baby. Give me my money to fornicate. Give me my money.
One time only per kid, or is it 25 per year?
No, one kid, one time only.
One time.
You get a $25,000 stipend for
to place into a college, whatever it
birthing
is.
a child.
Yeah.
Now that's good.
Now, yeah,
put it in a fund
or an
that'll
education
grow.
fund. It could be used for skill.
Sure.
Like
if there were some restrictions
education.
on it. Yeah.
Education.
You can't touch it.
Not college necessarily. Trade school's fine.
Right.
Here's the qualifications, but you cannot touch it.
Absolutely.
That's the beauty of also what was having a pension. You cannot dip into the plan. You can't. There's no hardship withdrawals. There's nothing along those lines. You can't touch it. It's just going to be yours. It's going to be there.
Allow it to grow.
Yes. It's just.
It's brilliant. When are you running for office?
I've got more skeletons than closets.
And on that note,
that is not going to happen. There would be a lot of people too. I'd need what's his name?
A lot of people
with
to pay off.
$130,000 checks.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Michael Cohen, yeah.
That or resurrect Racehorse Haynes. Hey, thanks for joining us this afternoon, everyone. We are smack dab out of time. Yeah.
We talked about nothing for an hour.
This
is the Seinfeld
very
podcast.
successful
45 minutes.
TV series on that premise. You can check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, and most especially on realinvestmentadvice.com.
You might not want to after this.
But well, we're still there.
We're still available.
And we'd love to hear from you, too. Thanks for watching us, everybody. Have a nice weekend. We're out.